Well, so I'd love for people to hear a little bit about your business. So tell us about your business, in terms of what do you specialize in as a roofer or builder?
Yeah, I actually started. As I mentioned, I drove a truck for 14 years, and I needed to get off the road and be home with my family. I started before I was married and didn't have a good established home life. Like I was basically a single trucker, and it's travel from state to state, and a great time. It was a lot of fun, very enjoyable time. But uh, I got married, started having a bigger family, and reasons why I needed to get off the road and be home. And I was looking for opportunities. What else could I do? I had a steady job driving a truck. It's hard to get out of that.
Mm.
But so I kind of went back to. I had some friends who were doing metal roofing, particular metal. That was uh, what they specialize in. And it just so happened when I was 16, I helped my dad for a summer doing this same thing. So I kind of went back to what I knew, and I saw other people that were doing well in that industry, and I decided to get out of the truck and start my own business.
Nice.
Started out as kind of doing anything I could do, and within about a year, got into metal roofing, where I was able to do just metal roofing. And we've since kind of moved away from that a little bit. We still do some metal roofing, but we're focusing more on post frame buildings, pole sheds, pole barns, whatever you call them. But post frame building is a nice sound for. It sounds a little better than a pole shed, although essentially it's the same thing that our grandparents built to put their tools in, a tool shed. But they're more sophisticated now, and they're a better quality than what my grandparents built back in his day. But so now, right now, our business is we specialize in post frame buildings, any building repair, new buildings, reskinning them, putting new roofs or new sides on them, and then we also specialize in old barns and putting metal skins on those. Some of the old 100-plus-year-old barns that were built with the peg beam type construction, timber frame barns, beautiful old pieces of art that are still dotting the landscape in the area, that remind us of a time in the past, and in some ways takes me back to my childhood, my upbringing. But I love to see those being preserved.
Yeah.
So we also do a lot of that.
Yeah. Growing up where I grew up, there are a lot of newer construction that was done like in the 80s or the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. And then as I started traveling more, and I would go to different parts of the country, and I would, see different landscapes, and these old, construction or buildings or barns. And I love that there's a real intention and effort to preserve those and
Yes.
modernize them and give them, an extended life or a new life. Because that in
Yeah.
essence is preserving part of the country's culture that I think is really important and would be a shame if we lost.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. It's hard to make an argument. Like, um, it's disappointing to me when I go, I get a call for someone who has an old barn and they want to see what it would take to preserve it, to put a new roof on it, and a lot of times put new sides on it, and then they talk about, well, yeah, I just don't know what I'm going to do with it, and I'll probably just let it go. And to me, I'm always sad to hear that, because I cannot make an argument as to how you're going to come out financially, your financial advantage to doing this, because I don't think there is one. But there is so much more than that. Your grandkids will still be able to look at what your grandpa built, or maybe even his grandpa, and if you just let that sit there and rot away, it will be gone forever, because they are not coming back. Nobody's building those.
No.
And
Yeah.
But from a utility point of view, it's just hard to make the case
Yeah.
as to why they should do it. But many of them have a museum, a priceless museum, right on their homestead, and all they have to do is take care of it, and it'll be there for a long time.
Well, maybe that's also why you're here, to
that
inspire that, in people.
Mhm.
And because it's a big part of our history and would be important to keep. So, well,
Yeah.
what challenges are unique to your field right now? Like how are you navigating through them?
Yeah, one of my biggest challenges, and this is kind of what got us out of the metal roof.
Mm,
When I guess if I back up a little bit, um, when I started this 14 years ago, and it was metal roofing on a house was still looked upon as, yeah, that's what you put on barns, and that's where they have down south where they can't afford shingles. That was kind of the attitude, and there had been some others that had done this in this area, but most of my buddies were not in Illinois. They're more of a I guess redneck place, for lack of a better term. I mean, let's call it what people call it, But
yeah.
in this area, it was still people look down their noses at metal roofs, but it was just starting to kind of become a trend, and it was very. We made them very aesthetically pleasing, like they looked. They were put on with precision and looked like they were built just for that house. It looked really nice, but the downside of that is it's a very easy entry, and very quickly everyone else saw how easy it is to get into the metal roofing business, and now there's many others that are a lot more competition,
Okay.
and a lot of the homeowners um, aren't familiar with the quality and the differences in quality and the value of someone that knows exactly what they're doing versus someone who's a little bit lower priced. So we've been priced out
Mm,
because we just don't take shortcuts, and we
yeah.
have a high. Um, my foreman comes from a cabinet shop, so he's got an extremely high level of high standards when it comes to details and quality, and that takes longer and it costs more than someone who just quickly slaps on a metal roof. So
Yeah.
that's been a challenge, and portraying that, getting that message across has been a challenge for us. But as a result, we've kind of backed away from metal roofs on houses. We still do some, but we're just not nearly as competitive because of price. A
Gotcha.
lot of people are cheaper than we are.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and
So,
that connects to my next question, which is, when you think of, and we talked a little bit about this before, but when you think of personal and professional values, which ones are important to you and how you work with clients?
mhm.
Some,
Yeah, absolutely. Never compromise on your standards. That is the simple thing.
yeah.
I've told my crew that occasionally I'll underbid a job, and by accident. I accidentally come in after I've started the project. I discover that I forgot to account for this, or just something I'm going to get into it more than what I realized. There's more to it than I thought there would be. But I've already made a contract on this roof with a customer, and I always tell my crew that the mistake has been made. That's in the past. We're still going to put this roof on the way it should be done. It's not going to change what we're going to do. We're not going to try to rush through it because we're going to lose money on it if we don't, or whatever. So the mistake that was made is to do for next time, but we're not going to change. Uh, important the values that are important is to keep your end of the deal. Always do what you promised and just a little bit more,
Okay.
and then just be honest with the customer.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I would like to connect that back to my childhood, as
Yeah.
my grandparents had a bulk food store. They would buy like 50 pounds of I remember little cinnamon red hots, those little candies, the little
Yes. Yeah.
they were so good. I
Yes.
specifically remember bagging those, helping my grandmother bag. I'd go over and help her for a day. I was probably, I don't know, I suppose I was 13 or 14 years old at the time. And she had a scale, and we'd take it out of the bulk, 20-pound container or whatever it was, and put it into little half-pound or 1-pound baggies. And she taught me, you set it on the scale, and you put in however many scoops, whatever it is, and estimate it and read the scale. And then when it says a half pound, you put another quarter scoop or whatever in on top of that, just to make sure it's not less, just a little bit more. And that has stuck with me for for the rest of my life. And my grandma is gone now, but that is something that I will keep with me forever. And I always keep that in mind when I'm providing services to my customer. It's whatever I promise, whatever they're buying, give them exactly that, and then just a little bit more. And I think that's a good way to keep customers.
I like that. Yeah. Then there's that saying, what is it? Don't over promise and under
Yes.
deliver, right? Instead, under
Yes.
promise and over deliver. That is such
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. That is such a, because you see it on their faces. A lot of times when we get into stuff, if we run into a small issue, like on let's say a pole shed, for example, a lot of times we'll have to replace a little bit of substructure that we didn't see before we started. And if it's a big issue, if we dig into it and then we uncover a big issue that was not known beforehand, we'll stop and we'll go to them and tell them that this is going to require a lot more than what we had thought. Do you want to proceed? How do you want to? We've never not been able to work something out to where we go forward. But most times it's such a small thing. We'll get an extra couple of 2x4s, we'll repair it, do it, and not even mention it. And then
I love hearing that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's because it's a simple enough repair and it needs to be done. There's no reason to ignore it. You don't do it halfway,
Yeah.
But then when they're done, when we get done and we present the rest of what they owe us, they're surprised that there's not, everyone else adds on, right? No one expects you to bring a proposal and then when you're done, they pay exactly what you told them they would pay. They're like, well, how much extras? Everyone comes in and says, yeah, we're going to have to charge you this much more for the screws and this much more for the, whatever else that we can figure out how to tack on stuff. So if you don't do that, you're the exception. If you simply just keep your word, it unfortunately, that's an exception too many times in today's business practices. So that's I don't know, it works.
Yeah. Well, it's a differentiator, right? I mean, unfortunately, people in the construction industry, I think in general, doesn't have the best reputation, kind of like lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very unfortunate. Yeah. It makes it harder for the rest of us to get people's trust. But on the bright side, there is opportunity there for someone who wants to do it right. Once you have a reputation for it, it's easier to maintain that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good differentiator. So you and I have talked quite a bit in our sessions about your crew, but for this conversation to share with the viewers, like when you think of your team or your crew that supports you and the business, what do you appreciate most about them?
I think quality. That I think their strongest suit is their attention to detail and their standards. Occasionally, so I don't spend a lot of time on the job site myself anymore. Like I say, I don't get a lot of tool belt time,
Yep.
But so I still go to the job site to bring materials, or if there's an issue that I need to look after or whatever, I'm still there. And occasionally I'm out there to kind of help them with something or whatever. And I catch myself slipping into, we're on a tight schedule and here, let's get this done. And occasionally they will challenge me on something that I'm doing. I'm wanting I need to get this done, They're like, yeah, we need to change this here. This is not quite, up to our standard in whatever way. This is not the way you taught us to do things. And do you want to leave this, or I think we should change this. And I have learned to not second guess when they tell me that I need to do a better job. Yes, you're right. Thank you. Absolutely. That is what we need, because it's so tempting. You start slipping into comparing yourself to what other people's standards are. And it's like, well, this is good enough for everyone else. Yeah, that'll be fine. Just leave it. And that is not what we built. That is not what we are about. That's not who we are. So I am thankful to them for reminding me of that occasionally when I need reminding.
Yep.
And just their general level of commitment to detail is, I think, their strongest. That's what I appreciate about them the most. And just good hard workers too. They're never afraid to work.
Yeah. Well, and that's also a reflection of you and who you're drawing in to hire and how you engage them as a team, and giving them the space to be at their best and shine and grow, and really take ownership, and initiative in what they're doing, so that you can ultimately grow your business. Because that's what's required, right? I see this too many times, whether it's a senior leader at a corporation, managing a team, or an entrepreneur or small business owner. There's that need to control, or micromanage, or be involved in things in a way that you don't really need to be. And if you give them space, it's amazing what you're going to provide for them to up-level themselves and grow themselves.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that presents a unique challenge, or I don't know if it's a unique challenge, but it's certainly a challenge. The fact that, with that level of quality and level of commitment to it, it's a little bit harder to get a good employee, to find the right fit for a crew. So there is that challenge that we run into. Can't just go out and hire anybody, because they're just not going to fit in. But it's a good challenge to have, I think. Good problem to have, as they say.
Yep, it is. So. Yeah. So what is your favorite type of client to work with, or who's your ideal client?
I would say my ideal client is someone who has an old, beautiful barn that needs to be worked on, and understands and recognizes quality and passion for what we're doing, and has the money to pay it. It is willing to pay to have it done right.
Yeah.
That's my favorite client. Someone who recognizes quality and is willing to pay for it. It's not, we're not the cheapest guys. It just isn't.
Yeah.
But in the long term, we're usually a lot less costly than the cheapest guys are.
There you go. Yeah.
We've had to come and undo things that the cheapest guys have done. So now they're paying for it twice, and stuff like that. But yeah, my favorite client is someone who knows what they want to do, and understands the difference between quality and cheap.
Yes. Good. Yeah. Priorities, right?
Yes. Yep. Because cheap is not less expensive. In the long run, it is not. We've, like I said, we've redone a lot of stuff that was done cheaply, and it just causes more problems in the long run.
Yeah. Speaking of long term, what is your vision for your business over the next few years?
To take more advantage of all the potential. There is so much good work out there, and so many good people to do work for, to grow the business and add another crew or so. Just expand and to be able to do more work for more people.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I am too.